Hello and welcome back to the channel. Happy New Year. I believe this is my first video of the new year. I'm pretty sure I'm remembering that correctly. So Happy New Year and welcome back. Today we're covering my first new customs of the new year. Sabrina from Pokémon, the psychic type gym leader of the Kanto region, aka best girl in Kanto. Is that accurate? I think so. I think that's how I feel. Misty's up there too. But yeah, so I made several different versions of Sabrina, and we're going to talk about them all in this video as I've made them and how they came to be. As well, I have them with Pokemon. We'll talk about those shortly. But as always, these are based off of Marvel Legends figures, so they aren't going to look exactly like, I can only do so much, but that's also to show off how versatile both the Marvel Legends parts and pieces are, as well as my own skills to modify things. So let's actually first, before we talk about the actual figures, I want to talk about the Pokemon and where they came from. Alright, so quickly, these are Pokemon that I'm using as accessories for these Sabrina action figures, and I have 4 Sabrinas, but I only have 3 Pokemon. Sadly, I'm not able to do every single Pokemon, but we'll start here on this right side. This Alakazam is not a model kit, but it did require assembly. I wish I knew exactly the name. It was like a Japanese name. I found it on eBay, so quickly there. That's how I found it. But they don't really have, like these two, they don't have an Alakazam like that, made out of the same line. So yeah, it was put together. It took me like 20-30 minutes to put together. I bought it several months ago. It's reasonably priced and all, but it's just real small, unfortunately. But it's the best that I can do. I wasn't going to make an Alakazam, but it is what it is. Like I said, I have 3 Pokemon and 4 Sabrinas. Pretty much my FireRed, Leaf Green, and the Let's Go Pikachu Sabrina have to share this Alakazam. Alakazam is kind of her signature Pokemon, for what it's worth, so they're going to have to share this. I believe there are Abras that are in this line, so if I wanted to grab a little Abra, maybe I can do that. Maybe there's a Kadabra, but for sure there aren't any Alakazams from these lines. So with that being said, these two are from the Pokemon Battle Figures line, so you can actually find these still in stores, though they are a little bit limited and still kind of hard to find. But Target and Walgreens, Walmart, they all carry these things. Sometimes they're individual, sometimes they're in a pack of 3, a pack of 10, etc. They're also on eBay, and also some other like third party like GameStop. I think GameStop does sell these as well, but I bought some of mine from a place called Disc Replays, basically a Funko Land GameStop sort of thing. But yeah, I might have gotten this Haunter from eBay or Amazon. They also have these on Amazon. And then the Espeon I got again from like the third-hand shop. So the Espeon is going with the Johto. I keep saying Johto. Gen 4 Sabrina, because that's what she was using in that game, as along with other Pokemon. And then I have Haunter specifically because of the anime Sabrina. Now, technically she does not use a Haunter in the games, and she does not use Haunter in the anime either, but if you watch the episode, Haunter was the one that made her laugh and made her kind of turn into a normal girl and free Ash and the gang and stuff like that. So she doesn't use Haunter, but Haunter and Sabrina are friends at the end of the episode, and Haunter stays with Sabrina. So I decided to go with Haunter over getting another Abra or something else from the anime, because I think she just uses Abra and Kadabra. Like I said, Kadabra I don't know if it's available, but again, Haunter is thematically goes really well with anime Sabrina. That said, let's talk about anime Sabrina now, since we're already here. We'll go ahead and, like I said, put these two together. Anime Sabrina. Now I decided to go with a smaller build for Anime Sabrina compared to the rest of them. So for what it's worth, she is the shortest, she is the thinnest, but she's still pretty tall, and so on. Like she's still got everything else going on for Sabrina as the anime. I'm gonna move Haunter out the way so we can focus on Sabrina here. Simple build for what it's worth, like a standard Kate Bishop legs and flats. I believe I had used these black ones from off of Shikla, but of course Shikla has heels, and these are just regular black flats that I got from a different figure, so it doesn't matter. The thighs are these thighs from off of Moira, so they are painted, by the way. I don't just, you know, take them off a figure and throw them on. In this case, they are painted. So as far as the skirt goes on this Sabrina, I made this skirt. So there's no Marvel Legends skirt like this, although we will talk about this skirt shortly. And this is an option for anyone that doesn't want to make a skirt. Unfortunately, it does come with a slit on the side, standard. So that's how this skirt comes on Moira. This skirt I made, so it is a combination of two things. It is first and foremost Procreate putty for the majority of the skirt. Soft Procreate putty, so it is not hard sculpted. It is flexible, it is bendable. It is not going to break or anything like that. And second of all, the top part of it and how it's got this separation and stuff, you can see a little bit there. Don't want to show too much there, but it is a Medusa. Like, you go to Medusa figure, and it has a belt on it. It's like a purple belt wrapped around it. I use that as a base, so the Procreate putty has something to hang off of and connect to, and, you know, give it a shape, so that way I didn't build out from the belt with the Procreate putty to shape the skirt from there. And that's it. It's really, the whole thing is a dress. You could have, and I could have, just connected the Procreate putty to the lower torso and have it be one flowy thing. Instead, I decided to have a more of a loose skirt. Alright, I unfortunately ran out of memory just as I was speaking, so I don't know what actually got caught on the recording, so I'm just going to continue on based off of the last thought I had. So sorry if I said something important at the end before I got caught off. As far as the rest of this goes, the upper and lower torso are just your standard Kate Bishop sort of deal. Like, you know, upper and lower torso are the exact same. In this particular case, I used a Age of Apocalypse Rogue, and the only thing of note, again, it doesn't really matter, but I did use an Age of Apocalypse Rogue. The thing of note is, on that Rogue, most of these Kate Bishops have a peg hole in the back, like so, and then the Rogue one has a second peg hole up towards the neck, so it has two holes in the back, and I plugged both of those in so that way she won't have holes in her back. If you don't care about that, obviously you don't have to do that, but just for notations. And then as far as these arms, the arms are also from a Moira, same thing as this one, but it's the other arms, the lab coat arms, the white arms, the light white lab coat arms. That's what these are. And those arms are really, really great because just like here, because you can actually swap the arms super easy, just like so, like without heating it up or doing anything like that. And then you can put these on there, vice versa. It makes it easy as hell to actually put together, so you don't have to heat anything up, and it just is super convenient. Those removable arms, I wish more figures had them. That being said, the hair is in particular comes from the Magic figure, the Walgreens exclusive Magic. I don't have the actual figure on me, but you know that the Walgreens exclusive magic. I used that magic to make this hair. With some modifications, the hair normally comes down in front of her, so I cut that off and added some Procreate putty because it's actually kind of thin. It usually ends about right here, so I spread it out a little bit more with some Procreate putty to make it a little bit wider, and added some epoxy sculpt here on this side right above her ears just to fill in the shape, fill in her hairline, and so on. The actual face though is Polaris, the old Polaris. So this is the same head and face. So the anime Sabrina has a very unique eye shape. That's not something that I could actually mimic. Like she has like very straight line, straight edged eye shapes, but it's not something that I could actually do. At least I didn't want to. I wanted to still use like a normal person's face, quote unquote. It is a toy after all. But I tried to angle her eyebrows so that way I wanted to make them a little thin, and then they are on angles. They're not like shaped like, you know, any kind of wave or anything like that. But that is, for the most part, it for anime Sabrina. So let's talk about the other three. Alright, so for these other Sabrinas, like I said, I made the anime one a little bit smaller, a little thinner. These have bigger legs, they're taller, all of that on purpose, just because I wanted to have a distinction. Not to say that this is how she should look or that the anime is how she should look. It's just a personal preference and how I wanted to build them. That being said, these two on the middle, the Gen 4 and the FireRed Leaf Green Gen 3 Sabrina, have the same just regular flats that you can see. Again, just your standard flat shoes that you find anywhere on any given female figure. Whereas this one, this is Let's Go Eevee, Let's Go Pikachu Sabrina. This one has different shoes. This one actually has like boots. So those are particular from the Captain Marvel figure. The ones that I'm using are resin copies, but essentially they are these exact same shoes. As you can see, they have a little bit of heel to them. There is some designs in there, some grooves, some extra sculpting, and they're kind of hard to see on camera, but it is there. And then I added some sculpt on the front of these legs, or really the whole entire leg. There's a lot of detail on the back side of this figure that of this particular costume that kind of goes unseen unless you're paying attention, or like for me, you find the concept art and you go off of that. But all of this is sculpted. You can see there's an X there, and then there's a gold circle on both sides. For what it's worth, they're all using bodysuit legs. In particular, these are from Deadly Origins Black Widow, repainted white, and then these two are Age of Apocalypse Jean Grey, painted black here, and then this is all of this color is a burgundy color, I believe, or is it magenta? One of the two. I think it's magenta. So all of that's the same color, and it has that color on Let's Go as well. So I painted that all through. Like I said, bodysuit legs. The skirts on both of these is from the same Moira, like I was saying before. I actually did use this skirt on both of these two, but you can see there's a slit on the side here and a slit on this side as well. I made that slit on this side because normally it does not have a slit on that side. It's just on the one, as you can see there. So both of these have slits on the side, and that is supposed to look like that. Convenient enough, it was also cut a little bit across the top because it would be a little too tight to actually fit on their torsos, but that's also going into the shape that swoops down. This one in particular I left loose and hanging, so it does move up and down. You can like alter it and stuff like that. Not that I want to, but it is a loose fit on this one. The one on the Let's Go Pikachu and Eevee, that one is glued on. I glued it on for multiple reasons. One, because I needed to this chest or stomach piece is actually hard sculpted on. I'll get to that in a second, but I wanted it to be flush. So it being loose, I wouldn't be able to perfectly paint that and make sure that it was in the right position. And it extends into the back side. So it goes with this like slit in the middle there. You can kind of see there's a cut. So I wanted that to be flush. So I ended up just gluing it on and making sure that it never moves. And it worked out okay. Painting was a little difficult, but overall it should be fine. It still has articulation. Still, especially because it has that cut in the side, I can still lift her leg up a little bit and it's not going to come off. You know, it's still decent in there. And yeah, it's fine. It's totally fine for posing whenever I get to it. That being said, let's get back to it. All of the torsos are like just a standard. Again, Kate Bishop, just, you know, just your standard lower torso is like that. However, on Let's Go, I actually used for the first time, it took me this long actually to use the female beetle lower torso. So that's what this one is. In particular, I did it because, well, all of this has like some, it's kind of hard to see now, unfortunately. But yeah, there you go. You can see the lines on there, those 3 lines. Now, it's covered up by the sculpt, but if you looked up here, you can see a little bit more of that. So I didn't completely sculpt the entire thing. And it does have like a nice little, on the back of this, you see that that line that going down the spine. So some of that is visible here, but that's really the idea was to use it for that in particular. Not the biggest, most important thing in the world, but for me, I wanted to do it. Now, like I said, going back to this, all of this going across the stomach is epoxy sculpt, is hard sculpted and made flush with the skirt. It's supposed to look like all of this is one piece, and then this going around her waist is a separate piece. That's the way it's supposed to look. I did not know that until I was looking at the concept art, but that's the way it is. But yeah, and then let's go back over here. Again, just painted black here. This one has a belt that's sculpted on. Arms are just a standard Kate Bishop, just regular arms, nothing special here. Same thing here on Let's Go, painted the way they're supposed to be. The bangles here are made by plastic resin that I had sitting around for, honestly I made it like 2 years ago and I still haven't used it all, but I finally got around to using some of it and just made this. So these are loose fitting. They are not glued on. They are not sculpted on. I can rotate them all I want, you know. They are painted inside and out, and they do have a little gloss on the green. It's supposed to be neon green, so it should be glowing, but the neon is not looking very good, so admittedly it's not glowing very much. Upper torsos on these two on the outside are Black Cat. The all new, all different Black Cat is what I believe it's supposed to be called, but it is this upper torso in particular. Again, not using the lower torso here, just the upper torso. Had to fill in the holes. You can see the Black Cat normally has like hair going around the neck, so I'd remove that, fill in the holes, and then I sculpted, use epoxy sculpt to enhance her chest, so her bust is bigger than it would normally be in comparison. I don't know if you can see that all that great. It is enhanced a little bit on both of them. And then on this one in particular, also I use the same arms, the Moira arms that plug in super easy, the Moira lab coat arms. Standard hands, white hands, not painted. It just had white hands already. And on this one, I forgot to grab Emma Frost, but I have this upper truss is Emma Frost. I have one right here, actually. Thinking about it. This one. So it's just the upper torso on this. Now this one has a lot more skin showing. That's why I didn't use the same one. It just works out a lot better. Enhanced her chest, so she does clearly have a much bigger chesky thing going on there in comparison. I did have to trim off some of the detail that is on here, and there's like a zipper going down her back, so I dremeled that off as well. And you can see she also has a choker. This Emma Frost has a choker here, and this is a removable separate piece that looks like, let's see, doing it live. Looks like that. So I did not do that. Well, I did that. I removed it, and then I filled in all of the holes. I didn't leave it like this, of course. So I filled in these holes, and there's just like some weird gappage in there. So it looks very flush. This is the first time I've actually used this Emma Frost upper torso and had to fill in the sculpt. I've used this before on the Black Cat PS4 Spider-Man, but I left the choker on, so I didn't even bother or need to make any modifications to the neck area. But this case I did, so I hope you can tell, or can't tell, that I actually added sculpt around the neck. And I think it looks very, very flush in comparison. Let's see, there you go. I like the way it turned out. I'll give you a peek around the back as well. There's that. The shirt part of this is like hard sculpted. Again, I use epoxy sculpt to enhance her breasts to make them bigger, and then more epoxy sculpt to create this little gap in between her shirt. So yes, you can look down. It's painted inside fully and all of that. So I created that with hard sculpt, and let's go ahead and get to the heads. There, all again are Polaris. It's the same head. So the actual, the anime one, again, I use the Polaris on all of them. I actually had to make this head, and I didn't use resin copies. All of these are genuine Polaris heads, completely. But there's a couple of things about this Polaris head. One, all of this hair is very deeply sculpted into, not sculpted, but into the head, where it's not very round when you take it off. It's actually kind of flat once you take it off. So I had to reshape all of these heads once I removed the hair to make it round so that it looked like a normal size head. Then on the anime Sabrina, I had to make the head smaller because the hair that I use from Magic is for a very small head. So I wanted to use that hair, and I had to make her head a lot smaller comparatively than the other ones. It's hard to tell, but it is smaller by comparison. And especially since her hair, her bangs needed to go down to her eyebrows, it is much smaller in comparison. But yeah, all of these heads are all the same. I forgot to mention her anime eyes are purple, although you can hardly tell because I use a very dark color. All of the eyes on these are red. The hair on these two on the outside are from, well, it's a combination of using Shikla just to help with length, and then using Procreate Putty and Epoxy Sculpt. Now, I had originally planned on fully sculpting with Procreate Putty and Epoxy Sculpt the entirety of their hair. Especially I wanted this one to have her wafting hair that goes off to the side, like wind is blowing or whatever. But unfortunately I ran out of Procreate Putty. So I started the process and realized there's no way I was going to finish her hair and have enough to do all the other three. So I ended up taking this Shikla and cutting off like the front part of it and just using the backside for length. So that way I got partially, like pretty much down to here with that hair, you know, down to here, and then added the little bit of Procreate Putty that I had left to make it a little bit longer and add some of the details that it has on this head. And the other head is virtually the same. It's not that much different from this one. Yeah, hold on one second. There we go. It's virtually the same. It does waft a little bit. I tried, but it's not going to go like fully flying that way like I really wanted it to. So I just pulled the Procreate putty down this way and then use epoxy sculpt on the actual upper part of her hair, the part that's on her cranium, her dome. On this one in particular, it's the same deal, but this one is fully sculpted 100%. So it's not necessarily the right style, but it is something that is close enough to this hairstyle. And there she goes. We'll just move her. So yeah, Procreate putty for all of this. And then the upper part of her head, all of the bangs and stuff going down her face and forehead, that's all hard sculpted and close to the style that is for her Gen 4 look. And that's about it. And I think that's about it. The only other thing is these green effects I put on this Let's Go version of Sabrina. These came from the same magic figure as I was talking about earlier. They used to be blue, and I just painted them this light green, gave them a nice gloss finish. So they do have a nice little shine to them. I wouldn't say that they glow, but they are nice and shiny. That is about it for the breakdown on all 4 of those figures. I'm going to do some quick figure comparisons and then get out of here. Alright, I think this will be the only figure comparison because I do have a couple other Pokemon figures that I have made, but they don't really have anything to do with those Sabrina since she's pretty landlocked. They've used her a few times over the course of the franchise, but for the most part, we're just going to stick with my anime Misty and my anime Sabrina with Haunter and Psyduck. One thing I forgot to mention is I actually made Pokeballs, which I only really wanted to make one Pokeball, which I did. I mean, I've made this Pokeball a long time ago with this Misty, but I made a new Pokeball. It's the same basic Pokeball. Nothing terribly special, but this one will go with the Johto Gen 4 Sabrina. And then I repainted, because I had already finished an Ultra Ball, and unfortunately this was going with B, the B figure that I made, and unfortunately back then, materials, long story short, the Pokeball was getting stuck in her hand, so I had to take it out of her hand, and now I've repainted it. I have new materials. That problem shouldn't happen anymore, so I can give this back to B, or I can give it to someone else. I'll figure that out shortly. But yeah, I made more Pokeballs. I might even redo this one. I've already mentioned that I am going to repaint Misty at some point and just completely redo it actually. One, so I don't have suspenders because I glued them to her torso, and they kind of restricts her movement a little bit, as well as they're coming up because of that. The glue is starting to come up, and I just want to be more consistent with how it looks and so on, and then change a lot of the other things with Misty that are an issue here, but it still doesn't look terrible in comparison. But you can see how shiny Misty is and how not shiny Sabrina is. So I want Misty to look more like this and less like that. And I'll be making other versions of Misty. It's just going to take a long time before I get to it, but I definitely will be doing more Misty. And I don't know how many any anime specific characters outside of Jessie and Professor Ivy, because I know she's anime only, and Jessie is technically no, Jessie was in Pokemon Yellow and Let's Go Eevee, so she's a game character. So yeah, I'm gonna make Jessie at some point. You'll see Professor Ivy, other professors like Professor Sada, Professor Sonia, and Juniper, and I think that's it. Yeah, I think that's all of the lady professors. I do focus on mostly ladies, so if you're like, oh, he makes Pokemon characters, are you gonna make Ash? Are you gonna make Red? Are you gonna make Blue or Steven or something like that? Probably not. However, I do like some of the guys, and I have had desires to make like Blue because he is like my favorite male trainer, but not definitive. But I will definitely continue on with making more ladies, In fact, I'll be working on a new Pokemon lady coming up very soon. Should probably, possibly be my next video or the video after that. Not sure how it's going to drop, but I am actively working on another Pokemon lady. I won't say who, but stay tuned. I will see you guys next time, and you'll find out who that person is, or the other character that I'm working on right now, whichever one drops first. Anyway, see you later.